Welcome to this session of leveraging study abroad for your career. This is an event that is part of Study Abroad Week here at DePaul, and we're very glad that you could join us for today's session. So thank you so much for being with us today. Let's see. So during this session, we are going to talk about information. We're going to share information with you about how to meaningfully include your experience in a resume and on a cover letter and in an interview. So, did you know that employers typically spend about 7 seconds looking at resumes the first time through? So, it's a very quick process. They flip through the resumes, and this means that you have a very short window of time to capture an employer's eye and make a good first impression and set yourself apart from other candidates in the applicant pool. Did you also know that only 10% of college students in the United States study abroad? So if you study abroad, you become part of this kind of elite group of students who increase their marketability to employers post-graduation. Also, 59% of employers that have been surveyed stated that study abroad is valuable and would be valuable in an individual's career. In addition, 90% of study abroad students who applied to graduate school gained admission into their first choice, their top school pick. So study abroad is really valuable. And, whether you're looking to further your education and go to graduate school, or when you're ready to enter the professional world and find a job. So this begs the question, how do you highlight your time abroad during your job process and the application process and the job hunting process? So, when thinking about how to leverage your experience abroad while pursuing a job or internship, it's really important to reflect on the experiences that you had. Whether personal or professional, what were the most meaningful and high impact moments that you had abroad? And in what ways did you change or grow as a result of those experiences? So next, you're going to want to articulate your experiences in a way that will have meaning to employers. You want to think about what skills your time abroad helped you develop and what experiences helped you develop those new knowledge and skills and abilities. I call those the KSAs, the knowledge, skills, and abilities that you have gained as a result of studying abroad. And what value these skills have to the employer or company that that you are hoping to join. The job posting will also give you clues as to which skills this employer might be looking for in a candidate. So think about relevant examples of experiences that you've had to develop your skills. Make sure that they are relevant to the job that you are pursuing. Finally, provide concrete examples of these experiences. You'll learn how to be quite a good storyteller about your study abroad and how that helped you to learn and grow and build certain skill sets. How do these skills help you to reach your career goals? This is really important when talking about your time abroad in a cover letter or during an interview. Having concrete examples of times when you developed these skills that they are looking for help you to align your experience with the qualities that they are seeking in a candidate. So, how does your abroad experience add value? Well, when reflecting on your time abroad, it's important to understand how that experience is adding value to your employment application. Different programs will gain you different experiences, which will in turn sharpen different skill sets. For example, some students might have participated in short-term programs where it has been found that you tend to sharpen your team building skills. When you're with a group abroad for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you're constantly with that same group of people, you're going to learn how to work together, hopefully in harmony. And you might have moments of contradiction or contrast, but you learn how to problem solve in that. Um, Other students might have participated in term-long programs where they may have done an internship abroad, or they may have lived in a homestay with a local family. And in those programs, in each of those programs, you have a varying level of cultural immersion. So you may have been able to use foreign language skill sets on a longer term program, or team building skills on a short term program. But these are things that you can reference when trying to connect your skills and experience with the job that you're pursuing. And you always want to do a good job of relating that experience and those skill sets that are directly applicable to your professional position that you are applying to. Now, if you participated in a short-term program or term-long program that does not directly relate or align to the job that you are applying to, that's okay. You can still absolutely highlight your international experience in a cover letter and in an interview to show the skills that you gained as a result of these experiences that you've had abroad, and to show how your skills and knowledge and abilities are going to benefit the organization that you're hoping to join. So only give space on your application or in your resume if you have, study abroad experience that's directly applicable to your position, but really ask yourself, how does my experience add value, right? How is my skill set add value to this job, and why am I the perfect candidate for this job? Okay, so let's look at an example of a resume. We have one here on the screen for you. At any point during this presentation, you are welcome to take a screenshot or a screen grab. If keeping these examples are helpful for you in crafting your own resume, you're welcome to do so. But as we look at this resume, we'll go through and point out a couple of really helpful things. After reflecting on your time abroad and identifying which experiences and skills add value to your job application, it's time to put this information into your resume. We can take a look at the layout of this resume. So I think that's what we'll do first. The biggest and boldest thing on this resume should be your name, so that the reviewer associates the content they are reading with you, this great candidate for this job. You can include your address if you like, but this information might be listed elsewhere in your application. And to be honest, I would actually leave your address out and use that space for more important content. Make sure to include your contact information, your email and phone number, and any professional networking sites like LinkedIn or GitHub. A resume is only a snapshot of your experience and should be tailored to the position that you are applying to. It's a good idea to link to professional websites like LinkedIn and GitHub that can help to exhibit your work and help your employer to see more fully your capabilities and accomplishments that might not be included in the resume you submitted, because you have to tailor it and shorten it to fit it on 1 to 2 pages. When looking at the organization of the resume, you want to make sure that the most relevant experiences to the position you're applying to are at the top, because as stated previously, reviewers only really look at resumes for about 7 seconds. And so the first time they see it, it's really important that your relevant skills and experiences are right at the top, so that it's the first thing that they see. Each section you have on your resume should be in reverse chronological order, meaning that the most recent experiences should be listed first. Your most recent experiences may not be the most relevant, so this is where you can get creative with how you list the different sections of your resume. Each resume should have an education section, work experience section, and skills section. But there are many other sections that you can add to bring those more profound, high-impact experiences to the top, to the surface. This resume features an internship section so that she can highlight her experience interning abroad. She also does a good job of featuring her experience at the University of Westminster under the education section. And so there are many different ways to showcase how you have gone abroad on your resume. You can put each section again in whatever order you like, as long as the sub-entries underneath each section are in reverse chronological order. Okay. Sorry, I should have highlighted those things, but I will try to do better at that. So we have another example here as we look at some resumes. When you consider what to put on a resume, it is helpful to bring up the description of the position you are applying to and identify skills and responsibilities that they are looking for in a candidate so that you can better align your resume with what they are looking for. And you often want to match language. The language that they use in the job description is often key words and phrases are what you should also use in your resume and in your cover letter. So you'll see on this resume for Ethan A. example, that this person, featured their abroad experience under the education section, but also added bullet points. This is optional. You can decide whether or not to add this if your experience addresses a skill that is featured in the job description. Make sure that highlighting study abroad in your application fulfills a specific purpose. Other items to feature on your resume could be volunteer experience under a relevant experience section, or adding a relevant experience section can be particularly helpful if your most relevant experience is not the most recent that you've held. You can also add an international experience section if you've had multiple times abroad, or if you've participated on multiple study abroad programs. You can show that you're a very active global citizen. All right, and here are the bullet points in which Ethan A. example highlights what he actually did there in Madrid. All right, looking a little closer at the different sections where you can feature study abroad experience, I want to first note that consistency is an important component of a good resume. Each sub-entry should follow the same format for punctuation, such as bolding the name of the organization, italicizing your title, and listing location and dates of employment. You'll see this in this resume example, that there are some inconsistencies with punctuation and using a dash versus using a bullet point or a bubble point. So be mindful of this and try to be very detail oriented when crafting your resume. You also want to make sure that each entry has a name, location, city and state, or city and country, and the dates you were in that position, usually listed as month year to month year. So that's the common convention that we would recommend you use. When including any scholarships that you may have received for study abroad, you can list them under the education section, or you can choose to list this under a scholarship section on your resume if you choose to have one. Lastly, you can feature coursework. You can feature coursework that is directly applicable to your professional pursuits. So when you look at this example down below at the bottom of the slide, where this student participated on a short-term program where she took a course that focused on the assessment and treatment of chemical dependency while studying in Portugal on a 2-week intensive course. And so this coursework might benefit this student in particular if they are pursuing maybe a graduate program in public health, or if they're pursuing employment with an organization that focuses on counseling and therapy and focuses on those sectors. So if there's coursework that you've taken on an abroad program that is directly applicable and relevant to your professional path, then please feel free to list that in your resume as well. That can only help you. Okay, next we are going to talk about cover letters. The cover letter allows you to articulate more fully how your study abroad experience is relevant to the position that you're pursuing. remember that the resume is just a brief snapshot, but the cover letter is an opportunity for you to share additional information, to showcase the skills you have, but also to help ask for that interview, to get the employer to invite you to an interview. And the cover letter is really your ability to tell your story behind the resume. So the cover letter is a way to match you and your qualifications to the needs of the position and showcase how you can make a valuable contribution to that team, to that organization. When writing a cover letter, it's important to review the job description of the position. You'll need to find key words of the skills and the responsibilities. You might even take a yellow highlighter and highlight certain words that resonate with you that you can work into your cover letter. But these are things that the employer is looking for. And you'll see words that are pretty commonly used, like we need you to be adaptable, multicultural, work well with others, be organized, have good time management skills, be proactive and self-driven. And so when you find these, skills as you read the job description, highlight them or write them down and make sure that you feature that exact same language in your resume and in your cover letter. Another good reason for this is because many companies, if they're large organizations, their human resources offices have search optimization programs that, if there's 300 candidates that are applying for one job, their technology systems will run through and look for matching language. So you're going to want to be at the top of that search results, at least in the top 10 or top 20 of those search results. So that's really key. If it's a big organization, if it's a small non-for-profit or other smaller organization, you don't have to worry so much about that, but just something to note. In your cover letter, you want to take concrete experiences that you've had in the past and show how those experiences have helped you develop certain skills, build on the skills you've already had, or really hone and sharpen your knowledge, skills, and abilities. And especially the qualities that the organization is looking for. So for instance, you can say something like, my experience abroad helped me to navigate another culture and allowed me to become a more multiculturally, globally minded citizen. Perhaps this organization is looking for someone who is more adept at working with people from different backgrounds. And so you would want to highlight that and speak to that. Let's say you're applying for a position where part of the job responsibilities require event planning. You might want to talk about a time when you were able to host events or plan an event and run a program. So really, the idea is that you're showcasing who you are, what you can do. This is your time to brag, right? Boast about yourself in a professional way, of course, and really tell the story behind your resume in the cover letter. Okay. Here is an example of a cover letter that a study abroad student who wrote, this student participated on a term-long program in London. And you'll notice at the very top that there is a date and the name of the hiring manager. If you don't know the name of the hiring manager, that's okay. It's common to list at least the name of the organization and the address of the organization. Even if you don't know the name of the hiring manager, you can address the letter to Dear Hiring Manager. There is a kind of an antiquated phrase that says, to whom it may concern. You can use that, but we recommend that you kind of get away from that language because it's antiquated. So we prefer that you would write Dear Hiring Manager. If you do know the person's name, we would also recommend that you avoid addressing them with a Mr., Mrs., or Miss, and simply spell out, their full name, their first name and last name, because we don't want to address a person with an incorrect naming convention. So use their full name, and that's how you would start your cover letter. I would also recommend that if you have any sort of visuals at the top of your resume, if it's your name and contact information with a line or colors, that you use the same visuals that are on your resume in your cover letter to show that those documents match and go together. So it's a nice kind of design element that these two things belong together. Okay. We're going to take another look at, actually, let me go. Well, we talked about cover letter, but really, let me go back for 1 second. In this cover letter, really cover letters have a few parts, and so it's really important to look at each part. The first paragraph should really talk about, it should give an enthusiastic introduction to who you are and why you're applying for this job. You say, this is who I am, I'm applying for this job, and here's why. Because my values align really well to the mission of your organization, or I'm really excited about working in advertising with your company. So it should be a really enthusiastic introduction. The second part should get into what your skills, knowledge, experience, and qualifications are, and using concrete examples from your past to show, hey, if you're looking for someone with these skills, I have them, and here's how I have been able to demonstrate those in past positions. So that's your second paragraph, is talking about, as my resume indicates, I have been able to, and then you elaborate on that. So you give a few examples in your second part of your cover letter about why you have the skills that, showing, demonstrating that you have those skills and you're ready to use them at their organization. The last part of your cover letter, the third part, should be to ask for the interview. I think a lot of times students will write cover letters, just like Regina here at the bottom. You'll notice that it says, please feel free to email me at, and she lists her email address. I think that's very passive. I think it's better to be proactive and enthusiastic and to say, to further discuss how my qualifications meet the needs of your organization, please contact me to schedule an interview, and then contact me at, here's my phone and my email address. But you should ask for the interview. I think that that's very forthcoming, and it's basically a call to action. You're telling them, hey, I'm interested in your position, here's my information, call me for the interview, I would like to schedule that. So I think that that is more effective. But those are the three parts of any cover letter. And again, if you'd like to take a screenshot of this or a screen grab as a way to have a sample to reference when you go to write your own cover letter, you're welcome to utilize this. This is why we have samples for you. Okay. Next, we've been talking about skills that you may have developed while studying abroad, but we can start to delve a little more deeply into what those skills look like for you. First I want to differentiate a little bit between technical skills and soft or transferable skills. Technical skills are those that can be listed on your resume underneath your skills section. These are things like language proficiency, any equipment that you're familiar with handling, industry-specific functions, or computer skills that communicate the technology platforms you know how to use. Computer skills can include stuff like Microsoft Office or Outlook or Adobe software products, any of those things. Soft or transferable skills are those that you would list on a cover letter. These are skills that you can show you have developed as a result of concrete experiences that you've had in your life. You can say that you're good at teamwork or that you have adaptability, but anyone can say it. So how can you prove that you have demonstrated it, right, in your past experiences? So let's say that you wanted to show that you're good at organization and communication, because those are skills that are listed in the job description as being really important for that job. You could write something like, through my experience working for the Irish Parliament on the Dublin Study Abroad program, I worked with many departments, juggling several different projects at once. And through this, I sharpened my communication and organizational skills. So basically, you're saying that you have the skills they need, and you're giving a solid example of how you've used those skills. And you are showing how, when, and where you develop those skills by accomplishing an objective. So you're showing them that you're able to think critically about the experiences that you've had, and that you are aware of the skills that you were able to build, and that you can apply your abilities to this new position that you're hoping to get. Okay. Regarding the skills section of your resume, it can be done in different ways, but please only list language if you are comfortable using it in a professional setting. If you list that you speak Spanish, be prepared to use your Spanish language skills in an interview. And I'll give you a good example. When I was applying at DePaul University to work in their international programs office way back in many years ago, I listed on my resume that I speak French. I minored in French. I'm a DePaul alumni, and I minored in French at DePaul, and I'm lucky enough to have kept those skills sharp. And in my interview, because it was listed French, intermediate high proficiency, my interviewer asked me to speak French, and I was able to speak French and carry on a part of the conversation in the interview in French. So please make sure that if you list a language, that it's relevant to the job that you'll be doing, and that you are comfortable, if not speaking it, that's fine, but that you're comfortable writing it or reading it or hearing it, whatever the job entails, that you're able to demonstrate those abilities. And then I'd like you to notice the difference between these two skills sections. They were written differently. One individual wrote their language proficiencies based on the type of proficiency they had in reading, writing, and speaking. The other candidate had listed out the 3 different languages that they know, and their level in that language, so that they were proficient, could carry a conversation in Hindi, that they were at an intermediate level in Spanish, and that they had a basic level of French. So you can list it out in different ways. Okay. Did you know that 84% of study abroad alumni felt that their studies abroad helped them build valuable skills for the job market? I know that is certainly true for me. I studied abroad in France many years ago, and boy, did it help me in terms of my career path and where I'm at today. And this is why I want to help other students have these amazing transformational experiences abroad, but then also know how to capitalize on those experiences after they graduate, so that they can get a job quicker and start, climbing that social mobility. So let's look at what skills you have developed as a result of study abroad. We tend to find common themes across the student experience. Many students have reported that they have developed a greater sense of open-mindedness, understanding. They're more patient, and they before they judge, they really think about what the full context and what's going on, and they have an appreciation of other perspectives. They can navigate more effectively in workplaces where you are interacting with and collaborating with people who are different from you. They adapt more easily in situations of change, and they have a stronger ability to cope with ambiguity and stress, right? The stress of not knowing. And then they have this ability to work independently. I think study abroad really fosters confidence and self-efficacy in people, so that they feel more independence and they're more proactive. And definitely you come out of study abroad with the ability to solve problems, right? Especially when, think about when you were in a different city or in a new place, and you didn't know how to catch the bus or read the timetables for the train, but you figured it out, you figured it out. So, and that gives you more confidence to know that you can overcome challenges. And of course, working well with others is a really important skill set. So what skills did you learn? We're going to look at an exercise to help you identify the skills that you gained while abroad. So I would again encourage you to, take a screenshot of this or screen capture and save this. And maybe this is something that you can work through in your own time after this session today. But really take a look at this, because there are there are some phrases in here and some identifiers that can help you think critically about the ways that you have grown. So on the right-hand side, you'll actually see a survey that's been included from NACE. NACE is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. It's an organization that helps bridge the gap between colleges and universities and employers to make sure our colleges and universities preparing 21st century workers to the level that employers expect, right, that they want. So it's a great organization. And this survey from NACE lists, it lists the top transferable skills that employers are looking for in candidates. So you'll notice that they include problem-solving skills, the ability to work in a team, communication. Many of these skills are sharpened during study abroad. So I encourage you to take a moment, to read through this and identify. On the other side, you'll see this list of statements and I want you to read through them and see which ones resonate with you. Do you feel like you have a greater capacity to accept differences in others? Do you have a greater capacity to empathize? Did you actually use your intercultural, intercultural competencies and communication skills when you were abroad, or even at home every day? Do we use it at school and at the office and in our daily lives? Do you feel more flexible after studying abroad? Do you feel like you're willing to take on new challenges and function in new roles? So, and to think critically, So as you read through this, I would encourage you to check maybe 3 to 5 boxes and use that language. Maybe modify it a little bit and tailor it to you, but use that language to put it on your resume and put it in your cover letter, and have the vocabulary to talk about these skills and abilities in an interview. I want my students to go beyond. It was great. When asked about study abroad, so much of the time students will say, it was great. But for an employer asking you that question, tell them more about what you did on study abroad and how it's relevant to you getting that job. Okay. So next, now that we've kind of reviewed some skills, let's talk about interviews, and just some best practices with interviews. Remember to be professional, of course. Don't lose sight of the purpose of your story when you start to talk about study abroad. It's easy to have all these memories and have all these thoughts and kind of go off on a tangent, but as much as you can, try to be concise in your storytelling. Make sure to only include the necessary details, so that you don't kind of ramble on. I know I have a bad habit of rambling on about my experience. But you can share, I always say you can share more details about study abroad after you get the job. But in the process of talking to your employer, be professional, avoid shocking stories, and focus on what you learned from certain situations. Try to end your responses to interview questions with what you took away from that experience, things that you learned, key takeaways. The thing I like to remind students too is that, when you get invited for an interview, they know that you're qualified just based on your resume. They know that you're qualified, and that's why they've reached out to you for an interview. Because once you get to the interview stage, they are really just looking for cultural fit. Do you fit into the organization? Would you be a good fit on the team? So keep that in mind, that if you get called for an interview, you're halfway there. You're in, you've got an in. So the other thing that is key is to research the mission of the organization. You should know their mission statement. You should know what their organizational values are, because you want to show that you want to show that you've done the work and that you're a really good fit for their team and for their organization. So one way to stay on task when you are answering interview questions is to use the STAR method. STAR is an acronym for, you know, helping. Basically, it's an acronym for situation, task, action, and result. So S is, setting up your story. Where were you working or volunteering or studying abroad? What was your role or title there? What was your purpose? Then you start to lead into task. What were you working on? What was the goal that you achieved, or what was the challenge that you helped to resolve? Then you can lead into action, like what actually happened, what did you do to accomplish your task, or how did you fix that problem? It's really important here to take responsibility for your own contributions to your past teams, to your past organizations or to your past endeavors. Own that, brag about yourself. And then R stands for result, right? So you'll lead into, what was the outcome? What was your, did you increase productivity? Did you help save the team money? Did you improve their marketing strategy? Whatever it was, what did you learn from it? And it doesn't always have to go well. Sometimes there's a result that was not ideal, and that's okay. But you can think about what you would do differently in that situation. What did you learn from it? How did you grow? So that's really what you want to focus on, because then you can show that you can apply what you've learned in the past to your next position in the future to make it even better. Okay. So here's an example of putting the STAR method into practice. And one thing I would like to note here is that you will usually encounter two types of questions in an interview. There's standard questions like, tell me about yourself, or, what are your greatest strengths or weaknesses? But then there's another type of question, and these are behavioral interview questions. The purpose of behavioral interview questions is that past performance predicts future success. So keep that in mind. This is why employers ask these behavioral questions, is because past performance predicts future success. So these behavioral types of interview questions usually start with, tell me about a time when. The question at the top of this slide, for example, provide me with an example of your ability to work independently. This is a really good example of a behavioral question. So you would respond to this question with, okay, start with situation. My junior year of college, I was working as an intern for the Irish Parliament. I was studying abroad in Cork. My supervisor was very busy, and I was assigned a task and had given a deadline and told to carry it out with very little oversight. And then you move into the task part of the story, So one task was that I was supposed to organize a flyer campaign for a new set of legislation that they were looking to pass. And we needed to spread the word in the community. And then you move into the action. What did you actually do? So I made myself a schedule of outreach and organized different methods of disseminating the information, including social media campaigns, printing flyers, using Canva, and organizing volunteers to distribute the flyers. And then you move to the result, which is, in the end, we were able to reach out to hundreds of voters, and I learned how to organize and carry out a project from start to finish. And what this person did here was actually input in the action. They highlighted other things that make them a highly desirable candidate. For example, using Canva is a design program, showing them, hey, I know technology platforms like Canva. I'm good at organizing volunteers. I'm good at working with people. So showing that they have organizational skills, showing what technology platforms they use, you can kind of insert it here in your response. So I want you to kind of keep that in mind as you use and practice the STAR method for interviewing. And again, with this type of response, it shows how they're organized, how they can carry out a task, and how they can work independently. And it shows how you grew, And even, like I said, you can even add on what you might have done differently in that situation to get an even better outcome. Okay. So we in a session we would have some time, and actually I can open it up if you guys would like to participate in this. We can have some time to practice with each other. If you want to ask each other, questions about, provide me with an example of your ability to work independently. Or maybe what I'll do is pose these questions, and if anyone would like to respond to them or give it a shot, give it a practice, then we can do that. I'll allow for a minute. So let me just kind of pose the questions. Describe a time when you were faced with a stressful situation that demonstrated your coping skills. The next behavioral question could be, tell me about a situation when you had to learn something new in a short period of time. How did you proceed? So would anyone like to take a shot and practice responding to these questions using a bit of the STAR method? It's okay to be shy, and I don't mean to put anyone on the spot. So so if you don't wish to do that now at this time, we don't have to. That is totally fine. But these are questions that you might interact with, during an interview. So, the it can be scary, but take a deep breath. Always take a deep breath before you respond to a question in an interview, because taking a deep breath helps to stay calm, to kind of keep the stress away. And also it shows the employer that you can organize your thoughts before speaking, right? It's a good thing to pause, take a moment, take a breath, and then respond. So I hope that this is helpful for you. Okay. Next, we understand that the job and internship, search process can be kind of daunting. But I really hope that, that after this session, you feel a little more comfortable with how to integrate your study abroad experience into this process. And one thing to note, networking is an extremely integral part to getting a job offer. Data shows that 60 to 70% of applicants have received their job offers as a result of some sort of connection or referral. You can find people to start growing your network through Handshake, which is DePaul's job search engine. And this also allows you to find different alumni. And LinkedIn can serve the same purpose. You're also going to want to look at, I forgot to list it here, but it's called alumni asking questions. Oh my gosh, it's called Ask. Alumni seeking knowledge. Ask. And that's another really great way to connect with professionals who are DePaul alumni who have been out working in their professional field for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It's a great way to connect with Ask mentors, right? So alumni seeking knowledge, this is a way for you to connect with DePaul alumni who might be in the industry that you want to work in, and you can connect with them and ask questions and get some mentoring from them. Professional associations can also help you keep up with industry standards and industry vocabulary and connect you to professionals who are working in that field. I encourage you to, look for jobs on sites like Indeed and Career Builder, and follow companies, companies who you are interested in working for. Follow their social media sites and really kind of stay tuned to what's going on in that industry. And then please use the DePaul Career Center. DePaul University has an excellent career center, and they have phenomenal services for our students to help with the job hunt. They'll help you polish your resume and help read over your cover letters and do proofreading and go over a few drafts to make it really, really just a well done cover letter. So please utilize those services because they're there for you. Um, and then I want to talk a little bit about a service that we subscribe to called Going Global. Going Global is a subscription that the DePaul Global Engagement has, and this is a leading website that has a set of country guides that will help students that are job seeking in countries both here at home in the United States and countries abroad. You know, they have these country guides that help you learn how to format resumes and cover letters for jobs in other countries. You know, so they'll teach you, if you're looking for a job in France, they'll teach you how to modify your resume to look more like a French CV or curriculum vitae. Same thing if you're looking for a job in Ireland, if you're looking for a job in Germany, they'll teach you more about the job hunting culture in other countries. A great example, they have info sessions every now and again, so I'd recommend that you go onto their website and look at when they're going to have another webinar. But they'll teach you about, you know, this, for example, job hunting culture. In Japan, if you're looking for a job in Japan and you apply and you get an interview, then after the interview, you're supposed to send a personalized thank you card to each and every person that you have spoken with or engaged with in the process. But if you're applying for a job in Germany, that's not really the culture. You wouldn't really send a thank you note to an employer in Germany. That's not really a thing that they do. It's something that we do here in the United States, but in each and every country it's different. So these country guides on the Going Global website are just incredible. They also list job openings around the world. So if you're looking for a marketing position in Italy, I mean, you might find it. So this website is, you know, is created by country experts. It features worldwide job and internship resources for more than 120 locations. And you can access this as a DePaul student. You can access this using your Campus Connect credentials and ID. So I highly recommend that you utilize the Going Global service. I think it's really great information for you to help you in your job hunting process after you graduate.